this entire intro and video is gonna sound so out of place. I am personally a very big fan of the Battle Bricks. I mein, I loved Battle Cats to death. I would have been really surprised and shocked if I didn't like the Battle Bricks, but I've been seeing a lot of people spread a lot of really intense anger and hatred towards a few of the later game's bosses, specifically in the new Chapter 5 update, and I kinda just wanted to break down the fight alongside talk about what I think they can make as changes, because I feel like there's too much people hating and just not really being constructive, and I kinda just wanted to go over that really quickly, so... Alright, editing retro here. It turns out after some further looking and consideration, I never actually stated that there's going to be spoilers for Chapter 5, even though I just felt it was obvious. Please make sure to avoid this video if you don't want to be spoiled. Also, I had to re-record almost all of these lines multiple times due to audio tearing issues. I love you, Audacity, and everything that you stand for. Well, before I complain some more, let's get into the first section. I wanted to start this section off with a really big preface. I really like this fight. I like a lot of the mechanics behind this fight, and I'm not really going to pretend that I don't, and pretend that I'm not biased towards this fight. Now, with that being said, I do actually think this is a very well designed fight, and you are going to have to give me the chance to actually explain why. To better illustrate my point, I wanted to go over the mechanics of the fight rather than the fight itself, as speaking from somebody who's done quite a lot of the game's more difficult content, the fight is pretty easy. There's not a lot of strategy involved past the early game, which is a very small hurdle all things considered. The main draw of the fight is the actual games, the mechanics, and the life system, which I will all get into individually. First and foremost, there is the heart system. This is the lifeblood of the stage itself, while also being the entire reason that you can't really ignore or fail too many of the microgames that you will deal with throughout this fight. Speaking of microgames, these are triggered at 10% HP thresholds every time that Game Kid reaches one, and will force you to do a series of microgames, in where you have to play WarioWare-esque reaction time checks, where you have to succeed successfully, and if you don't, you lose a life. And while losing a life is not run-ending necessarily, the final Desperation Phase at the end takes into account how many lives that you've saved throughout the fight. This can lead to situations where players really want as many as possible for the final thing, resulting in a lot of frustration whenever they actually, reach it. In my opinion, the majority of the valid critiques of this fight come from the life system. And to actually be more constructive about it, I've tried to think of different ways that the life system could be changed or altered in a way that feels fair. The only one that I could land on that I feel might make sense in the game's sort of world is maybe that after you lose all of your lives for the first time, you are given a quick time event of 5 minigames back to back to back, and if you complete all of them successfully, then you get a second wind of sorts, giving you a life back and allowing you to continue the fight. I feel like this would also make sense if this worked in the Desperation Phase, where you fight in the plane, because, I don't know, a lot of people I see just complain about how unfair it is to lose all of your lives to what they feel is unfair attacks. There really isn't much else I have a problem with in this fight besides this little bit, and I'm going to start entering rant mode very soon, so please skip ahead if you do not want to deal with that, because I am a little frustrated at how some people are viewing and critiquing this fight. To the people that think that this fight is unfair, that is understandable. I definitely think there can be some effort taken to make the fight feel less gimmicky, but I feel like there's a very large argument to be had that gimmicks is the entire point of the fight. But to the people saying that Battle Bricks has lost its identity and is horrible for entering this side of mechanical, I think you genuinely need to shut the hell up and stop talking about video games, because I am so tired of seeing people act like Battle Bricks is not a transformative tower defense game in the genre. I just feel it's so disrespectful to say that the developers have lost the game's identity and are treating it as it's a cardinal sin for a tower defense game to have interactivity and mechanics. Listen, I can understand the frustration, as this does require you to get good with an entirely different skill set. However, did you not play this game in the first place to play a different type of tower defense game? There are so few tower defense games willing to go to the length that the Battle Bricks does with its mechanical depth that you would be shocked that there are people that don't want depth to the gameplay loop. And that kills me, dude. I'm so tired of seeing Twitter user number 783 that nobody cares about explaining that they hate this game. And it's all the fault of the developers, because God forbid they add more gameplay. If it wasn't obvious, this is not really trying to target anybody in specific, but I'm just gonna say it is really disheartening to see this, because you guys know that the developers see these comments, and I can understand if you're passionate about the game, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't really be playing it this far if you didn't love it. But you also have to remember to be respectful and to actually show care to the aspects of it that you like, because at the end of the day, what's the point of critiquing something if you don't think or at least have some idea of what could be done? Sorry for that rant maybe sounding a bit too aggressive, so I'm going to end up moving to the next section of this, where I'm going to explain and talk about and break down the entirety of the final fight of the chapter on Tumore. Mortis is a bit of a complicated boss, so since I'm seeing a lot of people complain about how difficult the attacks are, but then not know how any of the attacks work, I feel like a lot of the issues that people have come down to them not understanding how to deal with the attacks or recognize them. So I figured I'd break that down first before actually getting into the mechanics of the fight. In Phase 1, there's really only two attacks you need to focus on: Sword Rain and Plasma Ball. You can tell Sword Rain's about to happen by looking at Mortis and seeing them put their blaster arm into the ground, shooting a pulse of energy, and then you can see swords falling down from the sky after. Sword Rain is surprisingly easy. Even in Phase 2, when it changes to a more dangerous version, the attack itself is not that threatening, though you can click on the swords as they're falling to cancel their projectile. This means that if you see too many swords going after important units like an Uber or a healer that you would like to keep alive, just go over and click it. Make sure that they don't take as much damage and protect high priority targets. The next attack to focus on in Phase 1 is Plasma Ball. Plasma Ball is technically a ton of attacks in one, but it's only because it has variations as the fight goes on. But in Phase 1 specifically, he will shoot out a green ball, and you have to fire at it 5 times. This is really simple to deal with, and it's not as scary as you think, but if it shoots very far back, you do have to track it very quickly. Make sure to remember, in Phase 1, it is 5 clicks to destroy the Plasma Ball. No more, no less, because wasting a shot can sometimes result in the cooldown absolutely destroying your units. Editing Retro here. If a regular Plasma Ball hits your field, it will not actually kill you, it'll just deal a lot of damage in a massive area, and this will convert all of your units that died into zombies. Just figured I'd note that since I forgot to say it in pre-recording. As the fight progresses, you will find a larger version of the Plasma Ball attack that he will charge out before firing. You can tell this version's coming because you can see him charge his plasma arm for longer, and all you have to do is click on that ball twice as many times as you would a normal one to send it back. And remember, since it takes 5 to destroy a Plasma Ball in Phase 1, that means it takes 10 to knock it back. Once it gets knocked back, it'll hit Mortis and deal a lot of damage. After knocking enough of the charged plasma attacks back at Mortis, he will hang his head low as a Whirling Sun starts to play. This is meant to give a player a small break while also allowing them to position their camera for the next attack that always happens after Mortis hangs their head low, and that attack is Pylons. Pylons isn't really as important of an attack as you would think. A lot of people struggle a ton with Pylons for some reason, but I feel like that's because they don't understand it and they get scared of it. The only things you need to note about Pylons is, each of the little Pylons can be destroyed at any time. The shield being up on Mortis does not do anything besides block your charged plasma attacks. Meaning, if you take long, then there is a chance that your charged plasma attack will get blocked by the shield. But this is only temporary, and the game gives you plenty of time to destroy the Pylons before you have to worry about that. After successfully completing what I believe is 2 cycles of the Pylon attack, you will then enter Phase 2, where a lot of attacks change, and it gives them a more erratic moving pattern. The first attack to change is, instead of having Sword Rain, Mortis has Sword Volley, a Gatling gun attack where they pull out their arm and start shooting a rapid amount of swords that home in on the front lines and what seems to be the highest HP unit on the field. The counterplay is the exact same as in Phase 1. If you see too many swords going towards a unit that you believe is valuable, then you can just shoot the swords to stop them from damaging your units. The only other attack to be changed is Plasma Ball now has multiple shots per burst, and also that they move a bit sometimes whenever firing. This can be a little scary to deal with, but it's the exact same attack. It's pretty simple. Also, pretty important to note, whenever the phases get harder, you need to click on the plasma balls less. It goes from 5 to 3 clicks on the final phase. Alongside these 2 old attacks being remixed to be harder, there are 2 brand new attacks that you have to deal with. Both of them being based on summoning other allies for the boss, and the first being a TV summon. There will be a bunch of random TVs showing up in the background that are highlighted with a little target over them. Click on the TVs, they'll stop firing. You don't click on the TVs, then they will do a lot of burst damage to your units, and they can't be hit by anything besides your mouse, so it's pretty important to keep tabs on them at nearly all times. And the other brand new attack, Server Summon, is where they summon a version of the boss you fought at the start of the stage. Now, I do not know the exact magnifications, but I am quite certain that the bosses that they spawn are not nearly as strong as the first one you fight, because it seems to be that you chew through them pretty quickly despite their high bulk. Small tip here, if you're struggling on this server boss summon a lot, if you do not have the ability to chew through the bulk really quickly, I highly suggest using the recoil cannon alongside the trebuchet uber, by providing a very good amount of stacking damage, and the cannon coming back so quickly on top of pushing it back really helps you chew through that high HP super quickly. But besides that, you can also use the new cannon, the Ionizer, to set up a choke point where whenever the boss is in there, you can absolutely decimate them. And after explaining all of that, you would assume that to be the final phase, but no, we still have 2 more phases to actually talk about. In Phase 3, most of the attacks change in pretty interesting ways. TV summons become really frequent and very periodic, while also becoming a little more dangerous as they shoot faster. The Plasma Balls attack shoots 2 to 3 in a burst, but he moves between each burst. Sword Gatling is significantly faster, and the projectiles are also much quicker. And you really don't have anything else to worry about besides landing 2 more parries before you enter the
Morning.
Only a few things to actually note about this phase, as usually when you reach this you'll win, but it can be really stressful for newer players, so let me explain really quickly so they don't stress themselves out and just die. Every singular friendly and enemy on the field will be instantly killed regardless of HP or gimmick, and you will have to deal with 4 pylons once again, but they have massively boosted HP. While also needing to destroy these, there will be randomly TVs that show up in the background that you have to shoot. The TVs only require 1 shot now, but they only can shoot your base. Meaning, depending on your base HP, you cannot play around. You have to shoot the TVs as soon as possible. I highly suggest Just spam click, get your mouse in a comfortable position so you can click on the pylons as fast as possible, and when you see a TV, stop spam clicking, go over, click the TV, repeat. The phase isn't that scary. Once all the pylons are done, you have to shoot the middle of Mortis, the little core that they have on their spine area, and once you shoot that, the fight is over. Not that bad, right? Well, not really, seeing as how, as of recording this, there have currently only been 1,500 people to have even beaten the fight. I was actually one of the first 100, and I was 2 hours late to my attempts. That really goes to show you just how difficult this fight really is. And I kind of enjoy that. I've been seeing a ton of hate on this fight specifically because of a lot of things, but the main thing being that they think it is too hard, or they think that it's not fair that you have to be good at aiming to be able to win this fight. While I do agree that it feels a little weird, I don't agree in the slightest that you have to be good at aiming. You just have to have good practice with this fight specifically. Since I really already ripped into the idea of players saying that this loses the identity of a tower defense game, I won't go on that rant again. I think that there's a lot of people that hate this fight for the simple issue of they are not good enough to do it, but for the people complaining about the issues of performance, I completely agree and wholeheartedly have been also fighting for performance stuff because I think that is really important. This isn't a, oh, stupid developer didn't think of performance. It is a, we have been trying to get this update out for ages, we need to release it, and then we're going to slowly fix this along the way as we apologize to people for the performance issues. That is it. There isn't some secret malevolent feature behind it that people are just like getting scammed out on. I think it is absolutely crazy to assume that Bucket is not working hard, and pretty worried / sad that some people can't really enjoy the fight as much due to their device's performance. And I don't know, man, it strikes me as really pretentious that so many people think that they know the issues of the fight and then they don't bring up any valid issues. It's just their personal opinions on it. I think that there's a lot to be said about this topic, but I don't think that dwelling on negativity is a very good thing. I love this chapter, I love this update, and I'm kind of sad that some people didn't, but I'm just going to hope that the majority did. And really, that's all that Bucket could hope for. So, what else is there to really say? I mean, to the people that came here for the guide section of the fight, I appreciate it, and I hopefully helped you in actually focusing on the attacks, because some people struggle quite a lot with it. But if you were here for the rant, then thanks for sticking around. I didn't really mean for it to sound as repetitive as it did, but in hindsight, I kind of sound like a broken record. But I mean, you watched this far, so I'm sure there's something of note there, and I appreciate that. So, thank you.